It's a little bit before 8 a.m. On Friday morning, and last night I was at a Pride, thank you Russell Coffee for the sleeve, at a Pride networking event. Pride at Work Canada did a panel on trans inclusivity in the workplace, and I just wanted to put together a video just kind of collecting some of my thoughts from the night, what I heard from the other panelists, and what it was like engaging with some of the largest employers in Western Canada, and in fact Canada, at the networking event afterwards. But a quick pro tip here, if you're new to high heels, I got these shoes at Aldo yesterday. I was gonna buy a really nice pair at John Fluvok last night in support of a fundraiser, but I took the kids back to school shopping instead, and that's probably more important, so I downgraded the shoes. But quick tip, don't go to an event that you're speaking at in brand new shoes that you haven't broken in yet, because it's gonna hurt. Like, it's really gonna fucking hurt. So I left my car downtown because there was a networking event, and it's been 7 days of Pride events for me so far, and last night was the first time I had a drink at any event, and that's how much fun I've been having, to be honest. Is that I'm too busy talking and meeting new people, and so left my car, and I gotta go get it. So I guess let's go for a walk. Just walking over to the train station, 5-minute walk. So it makes it pretty convenient to live in this neighborhood. So yeah, parked my wheels downtown and on my way here. My name is Kate Madden, and I live in Calgary, Alberta. I'm passionate about community, creativity, and collaboration. I think that's kind of become pretty evident over the last 32 videos. I don't know how many I have anymore. But transition has really brought me, the authenticity that transition brings has enabled me to really connect with my creativity in a way that I never expected. And I've always been creative and expressive, but more from a technical perspective. Collaborating with people, trying to figure out how to create space for people rather than speaking for people, which if you've known me for any length of time, as someone as outspoken and passionate and articulate as I am, that can be difficult. And then community, like, wow, I am just so amazed by our community. And last night I got to see a different aspect of that community, and one that I'm pretty tapped into in the business world. But normally speaking, my connection to the business world from a queer perspective is through the work I do with the LGBT Chamber of Commerce, which we do have corporate people involved, but it's probably more entrepreneurs, small business consultants, small law firms, that sort of thing. I think the main difference that I experienced last night was that the audience I was speaking to, or really rather sharing my experiences with, or listening to that of the other panelists, was primarily cisgender, heterosexual folks. There certainly were some people from across the LGBTQ spectrum, but they were, HR people, diversity and inclusion people, D&I, compensation people, like the people I deal with really in my day-to-day working life. It was really interesting. I don't work at that level though anymore. It's a marketplace that I didn't enjoy when I did. I really do prefer working with entrepreneurs and small businesses, but I can still speak their language. And so it was really interesting just to listen to their perceptions of what we shared last night. Whew. You know, vlogging in public is probably the most interesting challenge I've ever done. In terms of the number of looks you get. You know, it's kind of cool as well to just ignore it. Which, like, I get stared at a fair bit in public. You know, and I'm fine with a double glance. Like, I get it. I'm visibly trans. Or if I start talking too loud, but I don't like the second lingering glance, and typically I'll engage that person. If they're looking too long, I will just ask them how they're doing. How's the day going? Beautiful weather, hey? And I've had friends warn me I'm gonna get the shit kicked out of me at some point. But one of the panelists, my friend Amelia, last night, was talking about responses. You know, and specifically it was surrounding being misgendered. And how it's most likely that, you know, as a trans person, you're misgendered or dead named, you're going to feel the response physically first. And within that, there's three responses. There's fight, flight, or fawn, where you freeze. And for me, I really have one of two responses. It's fight, or I freeze. And so anyways, last night at a bar, someone was looking too long, and yeah, I instantly, like, it's a reaction I have. And I embarrassed him in front of his buddies, but, you know, he was looking at me way too long, and making me uncomfortable. Extremely. And for whatever reason, I don't know why. Maybe I was wearing a nice top. I wasn't wearing shoes at that point. But, yeah, so I know for myself, when I'm misgendered, about half the time I'll respond instantly. Like, just leap out and physically respond. Like, you know, I will assertively and aggressively demand that person not misgender me, or I'll say, please gender me correctly, or my pronouns are she and her, always, because my pronouns are not preferred. And, you know, it is about self-respect. Like, I love myself enough, and I've finally gotten to the point where I see myself that way, and a lot of other people do too. And when I'm misgendered, it can lead to days sometimes of just going down a rabbit hole. And like, I've got a video on it, one of my earlier videos, one of my first videos about, you know, am I really a woman? Like, do people see me as just a joke? I gave up everything. I blew up my family. I have emotionally traumatized my children, and I have destroyed the relationship with my former partner. And so I think that's all wrapped up in my responses. And other times, like, I was at a queer event, and I was misgendered, and it was just stunning, shocking, absolutely shocking, and I was unable to respond. And so another panelist, James, who's been a trans activist now here in Alberta for the last 13 years, I think it was 11 or 13 years, I can't remember. He made a point about defending the trans person even when they're not in the room. You know, you're in a board meeting, you're in a coffee shop, you're out in the field, whatever, and somebody else misgenders that person. Correct them. And keep in mind, we are sharing our experience, our lived experiences, with an audience of HR professionals who are primarily cisgender. There were, to my knowledge, 3 trans people in the audience. So, you know, 100 people, I guess, 150 people perhaps. Like, just in terms of creating culture, like, I think, like, organizationally, like, you can go read this. Like, maybe one day when I finally get to making videos about business, which I do want to do at some point. But like, you need to build culture first before you get to performance, and I think this is consistently true of all great organizations. But you know, from a culture of diversity and inclusion, you know, what does it say to someone when, you know, they can't be transphobic, talking about so-and-so? The other panelists shared some of the things that have been said to them in the workplace, and ultimately, like, I am so grateful for the experiences I've had professionally, where when I was asked, I had nothing. Like, my colleagues and clients, prospects have all been fantastic. That was an interesting point that James made. Walking downtown in my runners is a much more pleasant experience than walking downtown in my high heels, I gotta say. So there's 2 crosswalks here on this street here in Calgary that have caused some concern in the larger community with regards to taxpayer money and so on and so forth, as well as some people have decided to share their moral views that you know, we're a bunch of sinners. And someone wrote "lost," I think, on here, like within 24 hours of this sidewalk being put up about 3 weeks ago. And there's a rainbow one on the other side of the street. I think they wrote "lust" on that one. That person got caught and has been charged with a hate crime. But, you know, what the sidewalks, I think, really represent is visibility and an opportunity to tell people and communicate to people, especially those still in the closet, that it's safe and it's okay to be themselves, that they are loved. And one of the points made last night on the panel was that while you might not know a trans person who has come out, chances are you absolutely know a trans person. There are people in those organizations who, for whatever reason, haven't felt safe or haven't felt comfortable enough to come out. And this was my point that I made on the panel, is like, I work for an organization that is incredibly supportive. I'm not the first trans person to come out here in Calgary. And I still took a long time. Like, it was like 3 years of telegraphing from my employer with regards to benefits for transition, gender affirming coverage, HR policies, and that sort of thing. And it still took me that long to feel comfortable and to feel safe. And so, what is it about, I guess, being trans that makes us so, it makes it so challenging for us to feel safe to come out? And like, I think it's that it is absolutely revolutionary. We are a threat to society, the very building blocks of society. One of the things that was said last night, and you know, this rang true for just my experiences of being assigned male at birth, is that we teach boys 2 things. One, don't be girly, don't be a woman, and 2, don't be gay. And I think for us, like, we turn that on its head. And so, like if you're in an environment, Calgary's oil and gas, I can see multiple logos on the buildings around me right now of some pretty prominent oil and gas companies. You're in an engineering firm, a sales environment. I work in the sales world. It can be scary to be in that world and not feel comfortable to come out, to not feel safe. And so, how do you as an organization, how do you as an employer then communicate that and share that out? I think effective communication of policies, a couple of them do consulting with employers, and there's a case referenced where this employer had these policies for gender transition, but they didn't disclose these until somebody came out, until after the fact. So, what good is that? And those poor people in the closet wondering if they can come out, which they can. Here's the other sidewalk, but they don't know about it. So, kind of, I guess, speaking out of two sides of your mouth there in that situation. And, all this talk about employment and employers, like, we still live in a community that allows homophobic organizations to set up shop on our streets. What kind of message does that send as a community? So, it's great to have these professional policies in place, but if you don't feel safe at home, you don't feel safe, I guess 50 feet away from the Pride crosswalk. These jokers are here. And I missed there was a protest here yesterday that I missed. I had my kids, I couldn't make it down, but it can be hard. And so, we do live in an inclusive world, and it's great here in Canada. We've got legislation, we have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. As a community, we are protected as people. But then you see stuff like this, and you just wonder, what does it really mean if there are people still out there like that? And some of them are quiet about it. Their transphobia, their homophobia, and I think that I totally forgot these folks were here, actually. But I think it kind of brings into focus for me that maybe that's why we're scared, is that we still allow stuff like this in our communities to pollute our environments. And what does that say to the 15-year-old kid in Northeast Calgary who sees that in the paper? And it's great that the community came together and protested yesterday, amazing. And it was on 12 hours notice. So great job, Mike, for organizing that. I wish I could have gone. But it is that sort of thing that ultimately does impact us.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of a few of my thoughts over the last 24 hours. We've got 2 more days of Pride. Tomorrow there is the Trans Inclusivity March, and I'll try to film through that, but I also want to be respectful to other folks there, because while it's great that I'm visible and I'm out, not everyone is, and so I just need to be careful with that. But Pride is a protest, and I'm glad that I get an opportunity to participate in that one. And then the parade on Sunday. Last year we had, I think it was 80,000 people lining the streets, and it was 6,000 or 7,000 participants in the parade. So I'm really looking forward to that. And joining in that fun in 48 hours. So, you know, one of the things that I've shared in a couple of videos is I'm a telecommuter. I work from home, and I really struggle. It's, you know, I guess what, 8:30, 9 a.m. Really struggle trying to focus when I have a lot of admin work to do. So I've got about 4 or 5 hours of admin work here, and twice a week I find that I just need to go and co-work at a coffee shop just to be around people, and I find it super helpful and productive to just plow through as much as I can in those moments. So I showed you the Rosso coffee cup sleeve earlier, and I'm going to go over there and get a large coffee of whatever they got on brew, and get working. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you found it useful at all, please like, subscribe, share, and let me know your thoughts down below. If you're someone still in the closet wondering about tips to come out in the workplace, or, you know, if there's something holding you back that maybe I didn't address, you know, please ask away and let me know. Maybe, you know, myself or someone else who's watching this video or reading the comments can help address that. And thanks for watching. Here's to life.